Hello, this is a short video about my process of upgrading the Warhammer 40k commander decks that were released this year. Specifically the Chaos one. It's called the Ruinous Powers. And yeah, I thought these decks were just awesome. They were really well designed. The kind of meshing of magic mechanics with Warhammer 40k lore I thought was just really well done. So I actually got the Necron one, and went to Bad Moon Cafe in London. Shout out to Bad Moon Cafe, great place to go. And played with three of my friends, and it actually got a couple of them all the way into Magic, which was awesome. So yeah, just nothing but admiration for the way that these decks were put together. Um, I think though the issue for me is that they do have that pre-con power level, which is not necessarily a bad thing, if that's the power level that you want to play at. But sometimes pre-con versus pre-con games, they can just go on forever. It's very hard to convert like a lead into a win sometimes, and there's just like a lot of durdling that goes on. So I really wanted to upgrade my Warhammer 40k commander deck. And the issue is that everything is so perfectly done inside these products, like from a universe and world building perspective, a lore perspective, that trying to upgrade with, you know, cards from the Magic universe I just don't want to do that. It doesn't make sense to me to have these Space Marines in power armor sitting alongside just like a random skeleton or an elf or I just didn't want to depart from how well they'd done. Even the basic lands and the tap lands that come in these precons, they were all perfectly geared towards the 40k universe that they were trying to represent. So I don't want to disrupt that. If that was the price I would have to pay to get this out of precon power level, I don't want to do that. So what I did instead was make proxies. There's a really cool site called Mythic Black Core, which has a really easy to use proxy designer. If you don't want to go all the way into proxies and start photoshopping and stuff, that works really well. And what I wanted to do was kind of copy the way that they'd so successfully used existing Magic cards and given a 40k spin to them. So, with no further ado, let's open my package. This came all the way from Overland Park, Kansas, which is a long way away. I live in London, so it's been on quite a journey. And I just wanted to go through the cards that I designed and the upgrades that I made. So let's take a look. Okay, come in a nice little plastic sleeve. Let's get them focused. Okay. Yeah, let's take a look at these. So the first one, let's get that line done right. The first one is it's Ancestral Vision. I really like this card, but I wanted to give it some Warhammer flavor. So the idea, obviously, like the commander of this deck, or the one that I upgraded towards, Abaddon, he lets you cascade as long as you've dealt a certain amount of damage to your opponents. So suspend cards are great to cascade into, obviously, because their mana cost is effectively 0, and you'll, even if it'll always be lower than the card that you're playing that has cascade. So yeah, I tried to reformulate this as Tzinch or Zinch, manipulating like the minds of someone. Like you have an Ancestral Vision, you have like a vision from Tzinch, kind of like that film, The Mothman Prophecies. If you've seen that, you're sure you can hear some profound arcane wisdom, but you can't quite work out what it does. And trying to work out what it does mean is a way to send yourself insane, like what's happening here. yeah, then I just gave it a bit of flavor text to be like a Astro navigator, thinking that they've had a vision, but actually it's just the manipulation of Tzeentch. I found the lands kind of tricky to do. With the shock lands, I wanted to keep the name because they're just brilliant names. I think there's some stuff that Mark Rosewater has written about them, where he talks about how they designed them for Ravnica, and they were always intended to be able to be used in different like worlds, different flavors of worlds, so not just the city world of Ravnica. But in the end, they only ever printed them in Ravnica sets. So I wanted to kind of do justice to the clever naming of the Shocklands, and I kept this one as Blood Crypt, and I made it the Brass Citadel of Khorne. Very similarly, my fetch land, Bloodstained Mire, that's like a cornate battlescape, so you can see all of the skulls, and yeah, blood staining I think is just Khorne through and through, so that's the route I went there with that one. This one I thought was kind of the perfect match between the 40k unit and the magic card. I made it into a Night Lords Raptor, so the Night Lords are a chapter that rely on terror tactics, basically. So the kind of shadow mechanic fits perfectly with those, with that ideology, and yeah, this one kind of came out a bit janky because there's just so much text on the card, and I couldn't resist adding some flavor text as well. So that's kind of a shame, but I think the match of the Dalthi Voidwalker with the Night Lords Raptor is just a perfect flavor one. So quite pleased with the idea. Methodical Annihilation is actually a stratagem that the Iron Warriors use. So they're known for their siege warfare, long grindy battles, and I think that's just like the perfect representation of, or the perfect match for foretell as a mechanic. You like foretell this, and it's kind of like a siege because your opponent's going to get some damage done at a later point in the game. And it's also just a great one to cascade into, because if you cascade into it, you're casting it from exile, so you get the 5 damage per opponent. So yeah, I wanted to put the Cygnus in because this is just such a mana-hungry deck, and you want to be casting big spells that cascade, yada yada yada. So I tried to make a cycle. I called the Cygnus Relics instead, and then I tried to fit the magic identity of those color pairs with the chaos alignment. So this one, the Mere Signet, I made it Relic of Manipulation, and it's just some loser that's been used as a pawn. And that's it pretty much. Not too much more to say on that one, but I liked that it was a cycle. Felwar Stone, I just kept that as the original Magic name, because the whole idea of like taking things, the way that the Felwar Stone, it lets you use your opponent's colors of mana, basically. I just put a generic chaos icon there, and said, yeah, the galaxy is ours for the taking. Fits quite nicely with the original Felwar Stone flavor and mechanics. Eidolon the Cacophonous. This is my version of Florian, Voldarian Scion. Just a bit of a card advantage engine in this deck. But yeah, Eidolon is a character from the Emperor's Children, probably my favorite Chaos Legion. And he has a beautiful / horrific scream song that he can make on the battlefield to like destroy the minds of his opponents and send them crazy. And yeah, basically he was like the only Emperor's Children character that hadn't already been used in this deck that I could find that was kind of a fit. I think red and black are very much Emperor's Children colors, and the idea of like a sophisticated vampire and a space marine obsessed with like martial prowess and with a bit of like indulgence and the torture thrown in there. I thought that was quite a good fit. This one is another cascade target, basically. So I don't, in general, in Commander, like looting through my opponent's stuff. I know some people love that. It's not necessarily for me, but I couldn't resist this one because the flavor was such a good connection. Um, the Alpha Legion are famous for like subterfuge, manipulating the enemy, having double agents, you're not sure who's fighting who. So I thought that was just the perfect connection to this card from Modern Horizons 2, Inevitable Betrayal. And yeah, you can see it's not obvious whether this Marine is a traitor or a loyalist. So yeah, really nice match there, I thought. This one is another part of my relic cycle. I made it Izzet and Relic of Experimentation because what do the Izzet colors do apart from experiment? But I tried to give that grimdark twist to it. So the lore or the flavor of this one is the Red Butchers Terminators. They are the Terminators of the World Eaters, and even before the heresy, they were subject to horrible experiments where they would just be kept chained up um, in agony outside of battle, so that when they did make it to battle, they'd be just, well, as their name says, red butchers, just destroying everything with inhuman anger. So I like that I was able to get the grimdark flavor into experimentation. Normally, the Izzet don't have such a the Izzet League don't have such a darkness to them, or that color pairing doesn't. But yeah, thought that one came out quite well. This one is just a kind of must-have, I think, if you're trying to upgrade this deck. The Loyal Subordinate just drains each opponent for 3 each turn, so it just turns on your Cascade with Abaddon very easily. I found this awesome piece of art, so I was inspired by that, and I made it into a suicidal cultist. So it's a Chaos cultist that's willing to just throw themselves at a loyalist Space Marine and probably die quite a gruesome death, but they're a nuisance anyway, kind of like the card, right? It's you don't really want to spend a removal on that kind of card, so it's just like a nuisance that sticks around. This is I just really wanted this card in. I it's expensive. I don't know how good it is, but it basically doubles down your exile stuff. So I love Cascade and casting from exile. So I wanted it in here. I don't think it's that good. It's just going to be a removal magnet. It's a card from Adventures in Forgotten Realms, I think, or the one of the commander sets associated with that. I just made it into a demon Prince of Slanesh. Slanesh is probably the god I'm most aligned with in the Chaos Pantheon, so I wanted a Slaneshi prince in here. This was just kind of a silly one. I wanted to have the Eternal in some really cool artwork that I found, and I couldn't think of any good flavor text, so it's just a juggernaut and it just attacks you, and that's it. Shout out to Vinnie Jones for taking that online meme and getting it into a horror film. This is another kind of must have, I think, like for how expensive a lot of the cards in this deck are. The Nightscape Familiar is a really good upgrade. And I tried to make it into like someone who would recruit the cultists for Chaos, so I've called it Cultist Demagogue. So it kind of powers your Chaos cards by making them cheaper, and like it powers or serves the gods of chaos by recruiting more idiots and saying you there what reason could there be for your existence, so they give themselves over to the gods of chaos. This was actually the first card I made. Polluted Delta. I tried to include the origin story of Mortarion, the Primarch of the what do you call it? The Death Guard, now like the Plague Marines. So this is a story of him finding a way to escape the poison mists of his home world and yeah, conquer it basically. I think that's a really cool origin story, and I kind of did my best to tell it in one sentence. That's like such a cool challenge that I find with flavor text is just looking at the sentence, looking at how you can communicate a long story in one piece of artwork in one sentence, and also the mechanics of the card, of course. So yeah, not the greatest one I made, but I think it works. Rakdai's Charm, I think, is just a must-have for the flexibility and interaction. So I wanted to include it some way, and Mark of Chaos Undivided just seemed worthwhile. I did think about making a cycle of marks, but it didn't seem necessary. I think all of these things are very like chaotic, so yeah, it's such a catch-all card that the Mark of Chaos Undivided made the most sense, I thought. This is the final in my relic cycle. Relic of Sadism. I've included Fabius Bile, or Fabulous Bile, as some people like to call him. And it's, yeah, it does what it says on the tin, basically, right? He's a sadist and torturing, and yeah, that's it. The colors really pop in this one. I love the contrast between the dark purple and red. Scalding Tarn, I found this quite tricky to find. Like I said about the Relic of Experimentation, is it or red-blue aligned cards? I found it tricky to like match those with the 40k universe, or specifically with Chaos. They would seem to be to be more of like a Tau or like an Eldar color combination, but yeah, I just found the Impossible Fortress with its towers of blue and pink flame. It's Zinch's kind of, yeah, like his fortress, his home. So yeah, that was the best I could do. I'm not super happy with it, but I needed my my blue red fetch somehow. Chaos Spawn. This was just like a slam dunk for this old card, Shepherd of Rots, that just makes all your opponents lose life and turns on your Cascade. I just put it looks like nonsense in the flavor text, but it's actually not. It's one of the words that is used to represent lightning in Finnegan's Wake by James Joyce, and it has exactly 100 characters. So nice little Easter egg on that one. And yeah, what Chaos Commander deck would be complete without Chaos Spawn? Another difficult red-blue card. This is Steam Vents, obviously. And yeah, I just took like a Chaos battleship or cruiser, and they would have vents on them, right? So yeah, there you go. Again, the flavor, I'm not 100% happy with it, but it keeps it in the 40k universe. This one I am really happy with. Stormfist Crusader, such a cool card. Really big fan of that card. I love it in Commander. It like gives your opponents cards. I love any kind of group hug enabling type effect. And more importantly, it makes them lose life. So it turns on your Abaddon Cascade, and your opponents are really not going to want to bother removing it. And I feel like I nailed the flavor here. It's a Slaaneshi champion, and it's telling whoever it's about to duel against, there is pleasure and pain. You would do well to understand that, because you get the pleasure of drawing a card, and then you get the pain of losing a life, and also Abaddon's Cascade working. Another land here. It's Watery Grave. I tried to make it connected to Nurgle, and him like feasting on decay and the decay of gifted minds. Okay. The Exalted Sorcerer of Zinch. This is my version of Wild Magic Sorcerer. Not sure how good this will be in the deck. I just love the idea of like cascade. You know, so a lot of the time you'll cast something from exile, it'll be cascaded already. So I wanted to send, and I thought it like connected quite well with the history of the Thousand Sons, where they all got their bodies nuked. Basically, this sorcerer is continuing that tradition. Cool, and then finally we just have the Eye of Terror as a target for our fetch lands to get our mana sorted. It's my version of Xander's Lounge, so it's an island swamp mountain, and I made it to be the Eye of Terror, basically. So in the flavor text I tried to depict something blue, That's like the Arcane Mutterings, something black, so like Swamp based, the Deathly Miasma, and then something red, the Intonations of Slaughter. So yeah, that's Cadia. And that's it. That's everything. As you can see from the cards that I've added, I haven't tried to make it the most competitive deck in the world. Just a bit more tuned and sorting out the mana a little bit whilst keeping it inside the Warhammer 40k universe. So yeah, shout out Mythic Blackcore. I'll link their Instagram in the description. Really, really pleased with how quickly they sent out my order. I'll definitely be ordering from them again. And yeah, that's it. Thank you for watching. If you have ideas or would like to comment on how you've upgraded the 40k decks, you can leave them in the comments. I'd be interested to read those. Cheers.